Hello everyone. Today's topic is digestion and absorption, alimentary canal, part 2. In previous video I have explained about oral cavity. As you know, oral cavity leads to pharynx, which is the common passage for opening of the esophagus, that is food pipe, and trachea, that is windpipe. And this epiglottis. Now we shall learn about the epiglottis. What is this epiglottis? It is a type of cartilaginous flap. Means you can see here, this is trachea and this is glottis and this is epiglottis. Trachea means windpipe, as you know, and the function of the epiglottis is to close the opening of the trachea. What is the opening of trachea? It is known as the glottis. Why we should close means, while swallowing, if epiglottis does not close the glottis, then food will enter into the trachea windpipe, which can partially or completely block the airways. So it can affect our respiration. So the function of epiglottis is to prevent the entry of the food into the glottis during swallowing. This esophagus, that is food pipe, will lead to stomach. This stomach is a J-shaped bag-like structure. See, you can see here, esophagus enters into a cardiac portion of the stomach, and the gastroesophageal sphincter regulates the opening of esophagus into the stomach. As you know, the cardiac portion is the portion into which esophagus opens. The function of the cardiac portion is to secrete the bicarbonates and mucus, which helps in lubrication. And you can see here the fundus region. This is also known as the fundic region, and the function of this region is to store the gas which are produced during the digestion, like hydrogen and carbon dioxide. Next comes the pyloric region. This is the region which opens into the first part of the small intestine. As you know, you can see here, the first part of the small intestine is duodenum, which is the superior portion of the duodenum. The pyloric portion opens into the superior portion of the duodenum by pyloric sphincter. This pyloric sphincter regulates the opening of pyloric into duodenum, and the function of the pyloric is it prevents the partially digested food and digested juices from re-entering the stomach. Means once the stomach completes its digestion process, it will send the partially digested food and digested juices from stomach into small intestine. What the function that pyloric does is it prevents re-entering of the food to the stomach. That means it prevents the backflow of the food. Next, let us see about small intestine. This small intestine, it can be distinguished into three regions. What are those? They are duodenum, jejunum and ileum. This duodenum is the first and the shortest section of small intestine. It is in U shape and it is the part of small intestine where pyloric sphincter is present. As I have said in earlier, the pyloric opens into a part of duodenum where pyloric sphincter regulates its opening. And this duodenum, its function is to digest the nutrients and pass them into the blood vessels. And duodenum leads to jejunum. This jejunum is a long coiled middle portion of the small intestine. What it helps? It helps in absorbing water, nutrients, amino acids and also fatty acids. Next, jejunum leads to the ileum. It is the highly coiled, it is much coiled portion of the small intestine. The function of the ileum is to absorb the vitamin B12, and reabsorption of conjugated bile salts will take place in this ileum region. Next, let us study about the large intestine. And this large intestine is also distinguishable into three regions. So what are these three regions? That is, the first one is the cecum. It is the part into which the ileum opens. Ileum is a part of small intestine and cecum is the first part of large intestine. It opens to the cecum through ileocacal valve. Here valve means which prevents the backflow. Means what are the particles that have entered cecum through ileum should not flow back into the ileum. So this ileocacal valve is present which guards the entry of ileum into cecum. Next, it is a small blind sac which cecum which hosts some symbiotic microorganism. What is meant by symbiotic microorganism? Symbiotic microorganism is bacteria or organism living in symbiosis with other organism or each other. So this is known as symbiotic microorganism. It is present in cecum region of small intestine. A narrow finger-like tubular projection, that is vermiform appendix. I will show next what is vermiform appendix, and it is a vestigial organ arises from cecum. What is meant by vestigial organ? Vestigial organ means it's an organ that continues to exist without retaining its original function. Means it was used for some function before, but now it is useless, but still it exists. It is known as the vestigial organ. Why they have said that vermiform appendix is a vestigial organs means, before vermiform appendix was used in the process of digestion. It was helping in the process of digestion, but now as humans started consuming more easily digestible food, it's of no use for digestion. So it's lost its original function, but still it retains as an organ. So it is known as the vestigial organ. Then cecum opens into the next part of the large intestine, that is colon. So first let us study about vermiform appendix. See, here you can see the ascending colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, and here it will be transverse colon. See, this is cecum. Here in this cecum the vermiform appendix arises like this. Next, let us study about the colon, which is the second part of the large intestine. This colon, it is divided into the three parts. What are they? They are the ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon. So you can see here, I will say you what's the function of these three parts of the colon. See first about ascending colon. It helps to absorb the remaining water and other key nutrients from the indigestible material. That is, it helps in absorbing the water and nutrients from indigestible material, because indigestible material should be transferred to the rectum and it should be thrown out of the body through anus. So it helps to absorb the water and nutrients from those materials, and it solidifies it to stool. If it contains water, it will be in moist form. If it has to be solidified to stool, it should have the capacity to absorb water. So which does this function? Ascending colon does this function. Next comes to transverse colon. It is the most longest and most mobile part of the colon. Most mobile part means most movable part of the colon. The transverse colon, what is this means? It plays an essential role in the digestion and excretion of water products. This transverse colon, it plays an essential role in which it helps in both digestion and in excretion of waste products. Next comes to descending colon. This descending colon is responsible for storing the remaining of digested food before they pass through the rest of the colon and rectum for elimination. This descending colon next leads to the rectum, which is the last part of the large intestine, and next it moves out through the anus. Thank you.